He has served in city administration for 39 years, including 25 years in New Richmond, Ohio, and the last 10 years serving as city manager right here in Loveland. Dave Kennedy recently presented a State of the City during the Little Miami River Chamber Alliance's annual State of the Region update. Today, he joins us on Loveland Beacon Talks to share the latest of what's happening in our city. Hello, everybody. I'm Chuck Gibson, and it is my pleasure now to welcome our special guest. Welcome, Dave Kennedy, City Manager for the City of Loveland. Thank you for joining me here on Loveland Beacon Talks today.
Okay.
It's good to have you.
Thanks.
You know what? In all honesty, Dave, and maybe you think it's good, but man, it has been too long since I've sat down and talked with you.
Lots changed.
So yes,
personnel and projects and everything. Lots changed. Yeah.
Well, as I said when we were offline, we were talking a little bit about this. Goes back to February 7th when you were part of the presenters for the State of the Region, which is really nicely done. Credit to CC Collins and the gang. For the Little Miami River Chamber Alliance for putting that on. So I kind of want to go back, I don't want you to stand here and give the full presentation, but talk a little bit about, the state of the City of Loveland right now, if I can draw on that.
Well, I tried to break that into a couple different components, three different primary components, which is the financial aspects of the city. And as you saw in there, I presented a chart to sort of show how the city's income tax has gone up exponentially. And for a city like Loveland that doesn't have a lot of levies, runs their police department through our general fund. We don't have a police levy, a safety services levy. Those are important. So new jobs, everything that we do to generate income tax incentives that we may give to attract a business, a tax incentive on real estate tax to the city is beneficial to us because we realize that by attracting them and giving them a break on their real estate taxes, we'll get the income tax. And that's why that is so important to the city. So and then the other aspect of it, which we call our general fund revenues, is real estate taxes. And when you see those go up, that is a direct relation to private investment. So I try to explain people that, for a city that may not, certainly while I'm here, will probably never see another subdivision again, we're in a phase of infill development. And it's a fancy word. I didn't even know what it was a couple of years ago. But infill development is, let me give you an example. Right up from the Dairy Whip is a parcel you've been staring at forever. Right. It is now going to have 4 brand new homes with rooftops that are going to be $850,000 a piece. That's infill development. Up on Oak Street, there's 6 units, and that is that residential. If you can draw a circle around downtown and show how it's walkable, people want to build homes there. So we're in an infill development phase. So I sort of was explaining taxes, how people are investing in the city, how that benefits us through general fund, and what we do to attract businesses, retain businesses, and how that comes into our income tax. Because there's different cogs. Certainly the school teachers and the school are an extremely important part of our income tax. The Commerce Park is a very important part of our income tax. Right. And then also another component which I think doesn't get recognized is downtown. Those are high school kids. No. Yes, there are high school kids, but there's a lot of them. The downtown, as it grows and more businesses are coming in. So I think those are sort of our different cogs. Because the city we still give credit. So if you live in the city and you work in Blue Ash or Mason, right, you're paying, you'll get credit. So that was one component. The other component of it was the projects. And the city is proud, and I know the mayor, I speak for Kathy in this, and council as a whole, is very proud of the fact that the city largely leaves no stone unturned when it comes to finding grant money for a project. And I mean, a perfect example would be the seating area number 2 that we just finished in Nisbet Park. Largely gone unnoticed because with the bridge being replaced down there, not a lot of people are going down there. That project received grant funding from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and the Hamilton County Board of Health, who still had COVID money left over to promote outdoor dining. The city's share of that was very, very small.
Well, I know, and that was a huge thing in terms of, when you presented on February 7th at the State of the Region. Expound a little bit, there's a couple of projects, like, so the Chestnut Street, even, the other things that have been happening at Nisbet, those have been big things with other funding. It's not coming out of the citizens' pocket. So expound on that just a little bit.
If you look at Nisbet Park and you look at the two seating areas, the walkways, and the gazebos, all of those projects have been funded by 4 different funds, just in what we've done so far. Claremont County Park District, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, Hamilton County Board of Health, and the Hamilton County Board of Health, Ohio Department of Natural Resources, ODNR, Nature Works Program, and the Claremont County.
Right.
So we've tapped into, and some of those were $8,000 grants. And even when the Keller Williams came in with Red Day, they came in for free and gave the restrooms in Nisbet a repainting.
Right.
So the parking lot is a project. So the parking lot came in at around $1,260,000. The city has $1,150,000 of that we've got completely covered with grants. So these first draw, we've been able to, that project, and that is really keen to what City Council chose to do. We had plans for a parking garage. We had gotten 2 grants towards the parking garage. And the one that we thought was going to put us over the top for the Appalachian program, they just weren't going to fund it. Council was smart enough. They did the right thing. They looked at what they had, and basically were able to. We went back to the 2 people that had funded the 2 programs that had already given us grant money for a parking garage, got it properly amended to a parking lot, and as you can see, we're chugging along.
Yeah, that's making some pretty quick progress.
Yes, it really is. So,
what's the latest in terms of the date that's going to be surface parking?
So probably sometime in April. What is becoming real common with cities now is allowing Duke to do your streetlights. So the project includes all the conduit, but there's some very nice street lighting going in, along with some footlights almost along the path, the sidewalk that'll take you from downtown out to 48. Right. So April, May is probably a lot should be finished in May, because the bike trail bridge should be opened in May. East Loveland Bridge should be opened in May, and I would say by May the parking lot should be, maybe all but the landscaping should be finished by May.
Well, you hit on 2 other questions that I had taken aim to throw at you, which was the bridges. So, the bike trail bridge, which is progressing.
Yes.
It looked like it stalled there for a little bit, but
I think they shut it down. They just left. They have their meetings in here.
Right.
So that's how I get a little eavesdrop and get a little information. And then actually East Loveland Bridge, which you can imagine what the people on that area have dealt with, and I'm going till the day I leave here, till the day I retire. I can't thank them enough for their patience, and it's just a very difficult situation down there, and I really it's a tough situation for them. We're moving that along, and then of course Monday the West Loveland Bridge project starts. So technically, the city will have 3 bridge projects going on at the same time.
Wow!
So
which of course the bike trail bridge is going to be what's the completion date? It's May also, right?
May 24th is going to be an official ribbon cutting, but it may be open to the public before then.
Yeah. Now the East Loveland Bridge, that's a different story in terms of the timing for that.
It should be hopefully in May too.
And I definitely feel that empathy that you're showing toward them in terms of the patience.
I hear it, and I sympathize. Again, it's like when I was in New Richmond and worked in New Richmond and there was a flood. I didn't have a home in the flood, but you grow an appreciation for those people, and I don't live there, but I understand what they're feeling obviously from mail service, from garbage pickup, from bus pickup. I wish if I was ever able to wave a magic wand on any project and make it done, it would be the East Loveland Bridge project, because I feel sorry for those people, but at this point, there is one we put. If you look at that project, and I hope it was a wise decision, but we threw everything in one project. So it's not just a bridge. It's a bridge. It's a water main. It's a sewer main. It's a stormwater and sidewalks. All of that's done all at once. So it all got thrown into one big package because Cindy, our former city engineer, was able to use that all as leverage to get grant funds by using everyone else's contributions.
Well, you are probably just like me and the rest of everybody, John Q. Public. Whenever these things happen, we always scratch our head when part of it gets completed, and then 3 months or 6 months later, they're tearing up some of that road to do the next thing. So that sounds like a brilliant planning move.
I think the people wish it was just a bridge, but I understand. So the only thing you can say is that I can't imagine we'll ever be back there in our lifetime. That bridge is one of I was told the other day, it's the second oldest bridge in Claremont County.
Wow.
And it really needed to be replaced.
Oh, without question.
It could have impacted emergency vehicles. Ultimately, it could have impacted what emergency vehicles we could drive over the top of it.
Well, and you touched on another question for today, too. So Cindy, and I know that just broke your heart to see Cindy
and Corey
leaving
both.
here.
Those are two of the most skilled people I've ever worked with. And I've been in local government for 39 years. When you get to work side by side with Cindy Kloppenstein, who is now with Indian Hill, and Corey Wright, who is now went back to Union Township, that is, I don't even know what to compare it with. I guess if you were music, maybe it would be sitting next to, Paul McCartney playing the guitar or something. But those
high praise.
Those were two extremely skilled people, and we miss them. That's both of those communities are fortunate. I have replaced. We have a new assistant city manager, Chris Wozenek, from Warren County. He will be starting on April 9th. Chris is actually an engineer by trade, but he will be our assistant city manager. This is a great opportunity for him because it was the projects that really opened the door for him to get in here, but it's going to allow him to not only assist with all of these projects. Remember, Loveland Madeira Road will start going in 26, 27, 28, complete and total, from DVD Brew all the way to West Loveland. Right. That's 3 phases, 2 of which have already been funded. Cindy had been working on the Riverside Drive project that I know a lot of people can't wait till it's fixed. Cindy had been working on that project. Chris will jump in and keep those projects moving. So we're excited about Chris. It's a great opportunity. He's a very high quality guy. Yeah. Actually, it was funny. We got an email just completely off the cuff. I got an email from somebody he works with up in Warren County. Just wanted to take this opportunity to let you know how fortunate the city of Loveland is to get a guy of this quality. This is a real. While this is bad, while they were disappointed from the county standpoint. So we took that as, when those he'd already had the job, so that certainly was unprovoked and came in. And we're working on it.
Well, it's encouraging to hear those words unsolicited.
Yes.
After you've made the hire.
He's a very high quality guy, and we're lucky to have him, and he wants to learn all the other stuff. Yeah. I don't know if we've ever, from a project standpoint, what he does for a living. But the ability for him to learn what it means to explain the new aggregation program to a resident, which we get a lot of calls when people are confused, or we're getting ready to do flushing water mains in a subdivision, so we sat here and stuffed envelopes to mail residents. The thing with anyone in government, and I got this from when I met with Chris, the thing about being in local government, and I know that for 25 years in Richmond and now 10 years here, and I worked for Delhi Township, and nothing can be beneath you. You're in the wrong business if it is. Right. And you've got to be willing to do a little bit of everything. And that was, we know what that is. We saw it with Corey, we saw it with Cindy, and I think we're going to be getting that with Chris. Yeah. So we're excited about that.
And so Chris will be the new
assistant city manager.
And I'm going to ask you. So you have
I have a
replaced.
candidate.
Okay.
She has. We have a candidate.
Yeah, that's sort of still off the record in terms of who it is.
Yeah, because she just got her degree and she has to work under an engineer for a little bit longer to get her PE. So we've got the time to wait, especially with Chris coming in. We've been staying in contact with her, and we'll make that announcement separately. I just don't want to. I don't want to mess up somebody else's job. What if it doesn't work out? So, but yeah, Chris is official, and he's starting on April 9th, and we're just working through the process.
Perfect. So what are some of the other things, coming, as it's almost like the face of Loveland just continues to change. So what are some of the other things you're excited about coming or that will be completed during 2024?
I think the other phase of the downtown parking is a complete redo of everything here at City Hall. Then it'll all make sense. Why we bought the property on Harrison, why we widened Harrison, why when you go up the new part of Harrison you see this curb cut. So the city will be running a set of sidewalks on Railroad from the barber shop all the way to the new Harrison. So what we're doing is we're consolidating all traffic in the downtown will go to this new intersection at the corner of Harrison and Railroad, which makes sense why we widen Harrison back by the Wicked Pickle and why we improve the turning radius off of Carl Brown. Should all make sense. That's why Council asked us to look at putting in a dedicated left turn arrow when you come over the bridge, a short bust to allow that left turn because we think there is going to be more interest in the downtown. And then all of the parking, existing parking, gets completely redone. The angled parking gets straight. We go all the way over to Harrison. The dumpster that's over here behind Paxton gets consolidated with all the dumpsters in a corral over by City Hall. That allows us, and then the sidewalks, we've all seen people walking down the middle of Railroad, right?
Right.
That'll all be ending, and all that'll get cleaned up. There'll be a tree lawn with the antique lights will be added there. And that will be a nice program. We funded that and we put it into our road program. So everything outside my window here will all get completely redone, repaved, restriped, new handicap spaces, reconfigured, sidewalks. It will really be a nice treat. And then another project which may be at the end of 24. I know this is near and dear to a lot of people's heart is, if you recall, the city received grant funding to do signalize the bike trail crossing. Right. So with the bike trail crossing now having signals for traffic for both pedestrians, which is like a little person, in the light, or it's a little bike, and for vehicles. And at the same time, the city is redoing all of their smart boxes, which is the controllers that control when a train comes through, controls, up here as you see this project Corey worked on, which is the turn lane up here. All of our traffic signals talk to each other. So these, when you get a red light at the bike trail, we'll obviously know what the traffic is doing on Carl Brown. But that led us to realize that with access into downtown, ingress and egress for the first time ever on the 48, which is a big deal for the city, coming into downtown. And if you're coming into downtown from Warren or Claremont County, to me, this is how you're going to want to come into town. And because of the grant funding, that will always be free parking over there. That will not be paid parking. The thought was that it makes sense to make Railroad an in only there at Paxton's, because you can exit now easier on Harrison, Greer Militzer, and out here. Right. If not, we would have to put up a whole separate traffic signal for traffic coming out onto Railroad. It's actually Kip Ping, one of our council members who's an engineer by trade, who mentioned, you know what, Dave, it probably makes sense that that's only an in. And technically you could narrow it to one lane, and you could expand patios and so on and so forth. So that's an exciting project from a public standpoint.
Real quick, want to throw, because you touched on something, and I don't want people to miss that and not hear that, because there's been talk. So that new parking lot, which you said will always remain free parking.
Yes.
So I didn't want them to miss that. You
Yeah.
said that in the middle of it, because certainly, as the last time that I shared a story about that new parking lot on Loveland Beacon, there was some feedback. Oh yeah, they say it's free. It's just more. So that's why it's important to say. But here's the question that comes from that, Dave. How do you ensure that it's like forever free? Well,
I won't be around forever. But the bond is, the city is required to post a bond. Now, the bond is mostly so that the funding agencies, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and the Appalachian Regional Commission, the ODNR required us to post a land bond, which is basically us saying that for X number of years, the city of Loveland can't take ODNR's money and sell it and say Chuck Gibson's parking company. As far as
I see.
As far as a bazillion years from now, maybe.
Yeah.
But I will say that I can't even fathom. We sold that as to promote the bike trail use, to promote downtown. I can't fathom, but the only thing I can assure is that the city was required to post a bond, record a bond, a funding bond saying this was funded through this, and we're limited in what we can do. So I can know that obviously I speak to the mayor and council on a regular basis.
Right.
We have no intentions whatsoever of doing that because it works against what we're trying to do, which is support the bike trail, support the downtown businesses. I can't say never ever,
right?
But I certainly can tell you it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Well, again, that was the reason for the question, is because there is sound logic and sound law behind why it will remain free for a long period of time.
Yeah.
As neither one of us sitting here right now can say what the long-term future holds, but there's something in place that says that will be free parking.
Right, yes.
And personally, I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah. And when you were talking about projects, I didn't want to forget, because we did just announce it, but the Cherokee Water Main project is another wonderful project, because when the city council did the WMR fee, which is a $7.50 flat rate for every unit, 10-unit apartment building, it's 10 times $7.50. We told people that this funding, that we have water mains that are so old and we are so behind on the water main replacement, and by us constantly taking debt and constantly paying $500,000, $600,000 a year in debt service, we just couldn't sustain it. And this goes back to, this is a Cindy story, but when Cindy and I were working together on the Main Street water main replacement project, Cindy called me and she said, I found some old plans. And she mentioned the date, and I don't know if you know this, but I'm actually a bit of a presidential guy. I love presidential history. And I said, holy cow, Cindy, those were put in before Teddy Roosevelt was president.
Oh, my God.
So the council did an incredibly good thing by saying, look, we can't continue to take debt. It's not sustainable, and ultimately your regular rates are going to go up. We're going to put this in place, $7.50. It was supposed to be $7.50, $8.50, $9.50. I miscalculated in future years. We went back to council and we said, look, we don't need the $8.50 and $9.50. It's bringing in about at the $8.50 rate. So, and what we said to everyone was this was going to allow us to do water projects without taking any debt on, and it will also allow us to be more competitive in grant applications. Most grant applications will not fund water user projects, which they call enterprise. Their theory is it's a business. You're selling milk and you need to do something, raise the price of your milk. So, but every water project you ever has road, stormwater, and sidewalks. So the city was able to get $745,000 from Greg Landsman's office. Wow. Wonderful. His aides, which is who I would deal with the most, my goodness, were they incredible throughout this process, because you can imagine the federal budget just got passed.
Sure. Constantly
updating us on it. And I was like, he's probably got 12 projects on there, and they made you feel like yours is the only project. But what the city was able to do was we were able to get an OPWC grant for all of the stormwater, the storm the sidewalks and the curbs, which is about half of a $2 million project. And then the city was allowed to, instead of $745 plus $220, we were using $220,000 of the WMR fee. We're doing this, probably the largest water project that's been done in the city for decades, and not one bit of debt is being in there, and we're using their WMR fee, and we have not used a penny of it. We're not playing any games with, well, technically designing water mains. No, there's not been an expenditure from the WMR fee. And then another example of that would be the city's doing, as you know, Loveland Miamiville Road sidewalks, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So that is Sugar Tree, Saddleback, and Huntington. So we went to Sugar Tree last year, we're going to Saddleback this year, and then we're going to Huntington next year, and then Miami Township will take it from there.
Right.
The first phase didn't have water main in it. It had been done back in 2017. So it was a straight up sidewalk project.
Yeah.
Phase 2 has a water main project. If it wasn't for the WMR fee, where we could say, oh, perfect, we can fund the water portion of that project through the WMR fee and not have to stop it. Otherwise, I would have had a hard time telling council that we need to pay for that water main replacement. I could have envisioned that phase 2 of the sidewalks probably would have been delayed. So plus, doing the project in the Heights shows the commitment. I don't know if people realize, but City Council sold property in the Heights on Highland, both sides on Highland. And I would challenge you to find how many cities would take that money that they received and not do what most cities would do, which is put it in the darn general fund. They put it into a grant program. We have done 53 projects up in the Heights with property owners, exterior improvements, and that's siding, gutters, windows, everything. And then you take the grant the city got to replace the play sets in both tot lots.
Right.
And then you take the fact that we've been spending money up there paving roads, and then now with the city investing in this water main improvement, it's a significant investment in the Heights that they've done. I really could put a pencil to it, but it's a big part of it. The Heights is on a trigger. You could either sit back and let it just go do what it wants to naturally, or City Council decided to take a role. Right. And promoting home ownership. Just met with somebody from Habitat the other day. They're going to have funds to go in and help people do interior, and that is the great part of it. We couldn't really do interior work, so now the Habitat for Humanities, who just opened a store here in town, is going to have a program where they're going to be able to go in and do that kind of work.
Well, it has to be a place of joy for you, because I remember when we sat down and talked about, the sale of that property and how you guys were going to reinvest the money, and to sit here. So you were at zero, and now you've got 53 properties that have used that money to improve, property owners that have used that money to improve their properties. And I
mean, some of these people had concrete slabs that were so poor they were leaning forward. Yeah. Anytime I had to go back to the CIC and say, "Can we add concrete slabs?" they were like, "Fine." I said, "It's just running water right in. We're trying to save the structure." So we did a lot of windows, a lot of shingles, and I can get you the number, but the city's funding for those was 2 to 1 of private investment. So private investment was $2 for every $1 the city spent. The property owner spent $2 of their own. Yeah. So like $160,000 total investment. Yeah. And so the property owner, and our whole thing with that program was, and I think we said it to one of the residents from the very beginning, was, don't you hate those government programs that are so complicated? You just doesn't seem like they want you to do it. And our answer was, that's not how this is going to be. We're literally helping people find contractors and getting them through the process. The city made it an extremely easy process because we wanted it to work, and actually expanded it. We went down Mohican because it even though it wasn't technically in the Heights.
Yeah.
So,
Dave, That was the fastest 30 minutes.
Perfect. Thank you.
When we sat down, you said you were busy.
No,
you just about wore me out.
I know.
But no, hey, listen, thank you so much
Thanks, Chuck.
for joining
I appreciate
us
you
here.
coming in.
Yeah,
So I appreciate it.
A lot happening. Thank you.
There's a lot
Thank you
happening.
again.
So.
Thank you again, Dave Kennedy, for taking time from your very busy schedule to share what's happening in Loveland for 2024. And there is clearly a lot happening. I look forward to the next time you join us. For now, this has been another edition of Loveland Beacon Talks. I'm Chuck Gibson saying thanks for listening here on Loveland Beacon. Loveland Beacon Talks is a presentation of Loveland Beacon Digital Media and Gibson Communications, LLC.